Let me ask you something. If someone asked you right now, who are you? What would you say? Go on, try it. In your head right now. I'm willing to bet that somewhere in your first sentences, your job came up, your role, your title, what you do. I'm a nurse, I'm a manager, I'm a teacher, I'm a mother. We do it automatically without even thinking because somewhere along the way, we stopped answering the question of who we are and started answering the question of what we do instead. And for most of my adult life, I did exactly the same thing. Until the day I stepped back a little from the career that had defined me for nearly 2 decades and realized I actually don't know who I am without it. That was one of the most unsettling feelings I've ever had, and also, strangely, one of the most interesting. Hey everyone, welcome back to Stage Midlife. I'm Amy. If you're new here, hello and welcome. This is where I have honest conversations about midlife, the identity shifts, the transitions, the things nobody really prepares you for when you hit your late 30s and 40s. If you've been here since the beginning, thank you. We're 7 episodes in, and I just want to say the comments, the messages, the support, it genuinely means everything to me. Today, I want to talk about identity, specifically what happens to it when the things you build your whole adult life around starts to change. For almost 20 years, nursing was not just my job. It was my answer to every question about who I was. When I moved to Australia at 24, nursing was how I proved I belonged here. It was my visa, my income, my purpose, my community, my confidence. Everything ran through it. When people asked what I didn't just say I was a nurse. I said it like it was the whole sentence. Like it explained everything about me. And in many ways, it did. The way I think, the way I problem solve, the way I read people, the way I show up when things get hard. All of that was shaped by nearly 2 decades of nursing, and specifically over a decade in rural and remote emergency. Nursing didn't just give me a career, it gave me an identity, a self, a way of moving through the world. And then I stepped back from doing it full time. It didn't hit me all at once. It crept up slowly. I'd come home from a morning shift and have the rest of the day ahead of me. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't quite know what to do with myself. Not in a bored way, more like disoriented. Like someone had quietly moved the furniture, and I kept reaching for things that weren't quite where I expected them. I'd spent so long being the nurse, the remote nurse, the emergency nurse, the one who flies in and fixes things, that I didn't have a clear picture of who I was when I wasn't doing any of that. And that scared me a little. I'll be honest about that. Because if I'm not the nurse, who am I? So I started looking, quietly, slowly. I started asking myself what was actually underneath all of those years of professional identity. And here's what I found. I am someone who is deeply curious, who loves to learn things outside of textbooks, about people, about life, about what makes someone tick. I am someone who feels most alive in nature, who comes back from a walk feeling clearer than when I left, who finds something genuinely restorative about being outside, moving slowly, noticing things. I am someone who loves stories, who is drawn to honest conversations, who would rather have one real talk than 10 surface level ones. I am someone who loves her wife in a way that is quiet and certain and has nothing to do with any job title. I am someone whose faith grounds her, who finds something stabilizing in that connection, especially in seasons of uncertainty. I am someone who came from somewhere else and carries two worlds inside her, the Philippines and Australia. The person she was at 24, stepping off that plane, and the person she is now at 40, sitting here talking to you. None of those things are on my nursing registration, but all of them are me. Here's what I think midlife does, and why identity becomes such a live question at this stage. For most of our 20s and 30s, we are in building mode, building a career, building a life, building financial stability, building relationships. We don't have a lot of time to ask deep questions about who we are because we're too busy becoming something. And then midlife arrives and the pace changes, either by choice like mine or by circumstance. And suddenly there's space, and in that space, the questions come. Is this who I actually am? Or just who I became by accident? Which parts of me did I choose? And which parts did my circumstances choose for me? What would I be like if I had nothing to prove to anyone? Those are uncomfortable questions, but I think they're the most important ones you can ask in this season. Here's the thing I want you to hear if you're in the middle of this. Your identity was never meant to be fixed. It was always meant to evolve. The version of you at 24 was supposed to be different from the version of you at 40. The version of you defined entirely by your career was always just one chapter, not the whole book. Losing a sense of identity or having it shift doesn't mean you're losing yourself. It might just mean you're finally becoming more of yourself, the version that exists underneath all the roles and titles and expectations. And that is not a crisis. That is actually an opportunity, a rare and uncomfortable and genuinely exciting one. I don't have a neat answer to the identity question yet. I want to be honest about that. But here's what I'm doing with it. I'm paying attention to what lights me up. This channel, nature walks, reading, genuine conversations, creating things, connecting with people who are in the same season of life. I'm letting myself try things without needing them to immediately become my new identity. I don't need this channel to replace nursing as my defining thing. It can just be something I love doing. I'm giving myself permission to be in between, to not have a clean label for who I am right now, to just be Amy, figuring it out one morning at a time. And honestly, that feels more true than any title I've ever had. Before I close, I want to leave you with a few questions to sit with this week. If you took away your job title tomorrow, how would you describe yourself? Which parts of your personality exist completely outside of your work? What did you love before the world told you what you should love? If nobody was watching and nothing was at stake, how would you spend your time? You don't need to answer them perfectly. Just sit with them. Let them do their work. Midlife isn't an identity crisis. At least it doesn't have to be. It can be an identity clarification, a chance to look at everything you've accumulated, the roles, the labels, the expectations, and ask, which of these actually belongs to me? The answer might surprise you. It surprised me. And I think that's okay. Actually, I think that's the whole point. Next time, I want to talk about something that sits right underneath identity: mindset. Specifically, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of. And what happens when you start questioning whether those stories are actually true. Because I've been doing a lot of that lately, and it's changing things. I think you'll want to hear this one. If this resonated with you, if you've ever felt like you don't quite know who you are outside of what you do, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me, who are you outside of your job title? Even if the answer is, I'm still figuring that out, that counts. Drop it below. And if you're new here, and this is the kind of conversation you've been looking for, please subscribe. It's free. It genuinely helps this channel grow. And it means you won't miss what's coming next. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.